Good day, everybody. It's about 2:25 in the afternoon. It's the 20th of June, Friday, 2025. And this won't be that long of a video. Nothing's earth-shattering, so to speak, has really been happening. Just, some interesting news coming out. But as you know, Donald Trump, well, I'll just start it off with that. Donald Trump has said he's going to give Iran 2 weeks or something or no, he's going to give himself 2 weeks. That's what it was. He's going to give himself 2 weeks to decide. But that's just a ploy. It's to fool Iran, luckily, Not luckily, but I don't know, I'm getting mixed up already. It's to fool Iran. What he's trying to do, obviously, is lull Iran into saying, oh, we got 2 weeks. I don't think Iran is going to be that stupid, though, of course. Trump, I think Iran has days. I don't even think Iran has 1 week that Donald Trump will strike in that time. However, there is something that is probably going to hold him back. But anyway, let's just start going on some of the other news. I'll get to it in a minute. I saw a video clip with Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez, as you all know, I didn't really know because I don't really watch any corporate news, but he was on CNN, and I didn't see anything from him what he used to be like when he was on CNN, but it seems like he's getting to be quite a bit like a Tucker Carlson. At least he's got free reign to say what he wants to, and I guess they really like him in Russia. So he's on RT, and there are other people on RT, maybe that you heard of, Chabo, and I guess now Tara Reid is one, and there's others, but just can't think of them at the moment. English speaking is what I'm talking about. There is no English speaking people talking about news at all in Belarus, and let's see, maybe they'll get somebody sometime. Okay. Let's see. He was interviewing somebody. I guess the guy's name was Nasser. I would assume maybe the guy is Egyptian, and maybe he is a relative or an ancestor of what was his name? Anyway, I think a former leader of Egypt. It was before my time, so I don't know the name. I just know the name from hearing it, from some things that happened in history. Well, not ancient history, but history of before I became interested in politics at all. And they were talking about how suspicious it is, this occurrence on October 7th, 2023, because that's the justification that Israel is using right now for all of these nasty things that they're doing, attacking everybody. Hamas came and they killed what I think they're trying to say was 1,200. And I if I can remember properly, I'm not too sure, but I think the maximum it possibly could be, I think, of people that got killed was 300. And it's not 1,200. And it's, to me, very, very obvious that Hamas did not do what they are saying that Hamas did. And then they said, oh, they're raping and killing everybody and everything. And of course, it was all a setup. But anyway, Rick Sanchez and this person named Nasser, what they were talking about, that is all very, very suspicious. And I guess a lot of evidence shows that they knew about it. That's what they were saying as well. They didn't even go so far as I go, and I don't know, maybe I don't even go as far as Max Blumenthal, who happens to be Jewish, by the way. And, it's somebody like, say, Norman Finkelstein or Max Blumenthal, people with conscience. It's sort of like, if you're a Jew and you have a conscience, I guess that means you're, what is it, a self-hating Jew or an anti-Semite or something like that. I guess, I don't know if you can be an anti-Semite when you're considered to be a Semite yourself, when you're actually not a Semite, because you're not a Semitic people. The people in Israel, most of them are not even Semitic at all in the first place. Why do we want to get into that? But anyway, let's keep going here. But they were talking about it being pre-planned, and of course, the whole incident deserves a lot of debate. And I don't think it would look very good for Israel if people ever did start to get down and start debating about that. And then you can even talk about all the witnesses, all of the witnesses, the Israeli witnesses, by the way, the Israeli witnesses that said that they saw that it was Israel that was killing people. So even all of those deaths, I would say, there might have been a few that Hamas killed. I would say it's even possible that they might have even killed 10 people. It's very, very possible. But I think however many were actually killed, I think they were mostly all killed by Israel themselves. And as you know, that is what's known as, look at some kind of a child's mattress here. Somebody's trying to keep it dry. I hope they don't mind if I step over it. It's garbage anyway. But the Hannibal Directive, which I guess means to like kill everybody. You know, and I guess the whole idea was to make sure that these Israelis did not become hostages in the hands of Hamas. At least that's what they say. But I think it was also, there was a double directive, they had two objectives. I think one of them is to have a lot of people killed and then blame it all on Hamas. And like what Rick Sanchez and this Nasser were saying, they were both agreeing, and a lot of people agree, lots and lots of people. And I guess there's some evidence to prove that it was all pre-planned. They knew about it, and maybe they even planned it, and they instigated it, and they provoked it. So who would possibly have a bunch of their young people having some sort of a music party directly on the border with the Gaza Strip, and having the Israeli troops, for the most part, standing down? Very, very light crew, hardly anybody there. Anyway, it's, like I said, it's worth a lot of debate. So they're using media and society to try to erase the truth of that. As you all see, they're erasing the truth. And they're trying to make it a known fact that Hamas came across there and killed all those people, you know? And it's like, perish the thought that there's any other possible explanation. It's just like 9/11. It's kind of the same sort of a deal. Makes you wonder if some of the same people are planning all this thing. It's just like that spider web, like I was talking about yesterday. When you had the spider web with these drones, and how they conducted this whole operation, you know, by bringing in drone parts and then hiding this stuff in trucks and all that sort of a deal, within the country that they want to attack, you know, get it across the border and then assemble them in another place. And it's exactly like what the Israelis did in Iran. And as a matter of fact, I think they found 3 trucks. And how many I think maybe there was 2 that actually got away with it, because maybe there was 5 in Ukraine. It's the same thing. Trucks with drones in them and all that. It's absolutely identical. And I've always tried to stress in my videos that there's a very, very striking resemblance between Ukraine and Israel. And it's almost like there's somebody, a common person or people that are kind of directing things in both of those governments. And I've always said, and I don't even shy away from it, that they're both Nazis. They are Nazis. Well, what is the definition of a Nazi? Ethno-racism or whatever, and that's what they are. They're ethnic racists. The Israelis are, and the Ukrainians are. You know, the master race, God's chosen people, or whatever the heck, you know. Swastikas, but well, actually, Israel doesn't have the swastikas. They have the Star of David. And I do not want to knock Jews, I really don't, because, for example, like I just said, Max Blumenthal, there's Gilad Atzmon. I think, what is his name now? Well, there's others that are very good. Well, Norman Finkelstein, and anyway, there's others. So, and I don't think they like their religion being besmirched by these murderous terrorist bandits. So I think that's what Max Blumenthal's opinion is. So just letting you know. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, what else? Israel is really trying to milk out this, what is it? The shock waves. The shock waves that damaged this hospital in Soroka, I guess. I mean, it's called the Soroka Hospital. I don't even know which town it is. Bibi Netanyahu even went there to get the cameras on him And to make a little bit of a speech here, I'll say it in a minute here, but it's absolutely incredible, because if you see any of these tapes, if you saw the first tape, you didn't see anybody. You saw a couple people walking through the reception area of the hospital, a big room, and there was no other people, and the structure was not damaged at all. The windows were blown out, and there was some debris that you can easily walk through and walk around, a few little things laying on the floor. No blood, no bodies, nothing like that. And it was also put out that they had already evacuated that hospital. Absolutely incredible. And then all of a sudden, the next day they come up with some sort of ambulances out there. And to be honest with you, crisis actors. They had crisis actors. They've done that in the United States as well. You get crisis actors, and these people are trained, it's like theatrics, to act like they were just in a bomb blast and things like that. And maybe they got something, maybe they even have real blood. Maybe they split, I don't know. In this one, I didn't see any blood. They just showed some people, and they showed some ambulances and all that, and it's just to make it look like, oh, people were injured and all that, but they were all evacuated. As a matter of fact, the real building that Iran hit, that was already evacuated as well. I believe that was a command intelligence agency. And for the most part, when Iran bombs a place, they even tell them in advance. And you can see this, you can find this evidence, that they tell the people in advance when there's any civilians to get out of that area. And I think Israel does that at some points in time, because they want to look good. They want to look like they do actually care. And normally they don't really care. But at this point in time, when they're bombing Iran, they're hoping for a rebellion. So sometimes they are telling people in advance to move out of those areas. And I think they were doing that recently with Hezbollah too, I think in some places of Lebanon, because they're starting to realize that the world hates them so very, very much by killing innocent people, with any qualms, but of course they don't do that, I don't think, in Gaza. What they do is they move them out in Gaza. You guys have already seen this. This is a scenario over and over and over again. They tell them, oh, get out of this area and move to this area over here. And then they bomb that area. So they bomb the area that the people left, and then they go ahead and they bomb the area where the people are at, and they kill them. As a matter of fact, they just did that last night. They just did it last night. So I don't know. Let's see if I wrote that down, the name. Yeah, I did write it down. So let me get I'm going ahead of myself, of course, as I do very often. Yes. Okay. So, like I said, no damage to the structure. Okay. I guess meanwhile, when Israel is now accusing Iran of bombing a hospital, which it's very obvious they didn't. Like I said, the entire structure is completely intact. Only some of the windows were blown out, because I think Iran used one of their newer powerful bombs on this other building, which was maybe 50 to 100 meters away. I saw some sort of a tape where they were showing how far away it is. It's like if you're looking from here to that wall, it's even further than that away. But the blast area, it blasted and like I said, it blew out the windows. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Why is the glass on the inside, on the floors, and not on the outside if Iran dropped a bomb on top of that building? If you guys get a chance to see that footing, I guess that's one thing you can look at. Why is the glass on the inside of the building and not on the outside of the building? That's very weird. And meanwhile, Israel did not bomb hospitals per se, but they damaged 5 because they were bombing near hospitals also. So Iran made sure to say that the hospitals themselves were not bombed, but they did extensive damage to some of those hospitals. But don't you worry though. Israel will get around to bombing those hospitals as well. It's weird. They're doing this a little bit more careful. When it comes to Gaza, they were purposefully bombing the hospitals, and then they made up the lie and said, oh, they have command and control centers from Hamas below in the basement of those hospitals. And then they even showed at one time, I think this was some time ago, they showed some old rusty guns. Of course, that they planted, they were too, and you couldn't even fire them anyway. And then I think they showed some office. It looked like nobody had been sitting in there for like years, and it was dusty and everything. And then these 2 rusty guns, and they said, see, it was a command and control post for Hamas. And somebody spotted all those things right away. The things I just told you, that's what they found. They showed these guns that were all rusty and you couldn't fire them anyway. Unless there's some real bad gun keepers. So, but anyway, it's turned out that that's exactly what Israel does. They put command and control centers under the hospitals and things. And in this case, they put it right next to a hospital. So, just so you know, but it was far enough away. It did damage, like I said, but it wasn't like structural damage. You can say extensive damage because windows are expensive, and I probably blew out all the windows of that hospital. So in any case, but like I said, everybody was evacuated. So it's very strange. They blew the hospital, but there's no deaths. Israel didn't record any deaths. Maybe they did right after that, while Bibi was there and crying and saying, "Bad Iran, we are good, bad Iran." So what was he saying there? Yeah, he made a trip there, and he announced, he said, "We're hitting military targets of nuclear and missile programs, and they're hitting children's ward of hospital." That tells you everything. That's what he said. When, of course, everybody knows, I think the entire globe knows, even if you have maybe people in the U.S., of course, Ted Cruz and Chucky Schumer and probably Donald Trump, they just happen not to see that Israel has killed, 30,000 children. Oh, they just didn't happen to see that. And I guess it's nearly 60,000 people they killed, and like everybody says, the majority of them are children. And Israel loves to kill children. They love death and I'm talking about some of these people that are in charge of that regime in Israel. And they certainly do, because that's something called genocide. They want, as a matter of fact, it's mostly ethnic cleansing. If those people do not leave Gaza, then we will genocide them. That's what Israel's message is. And of course, what's next and what is actually happening right now is also the West Bank. There was some sort of a report that they are seizing an entire huge area, 61% of the West Bank. The West Bank used to be really huge, and most of it is gone anyway. And of course, then you can't go from any part to the other part if you want to anyway. I guess there's checkpoints. I have no idea, but I don't think it's very nice there from what I've heard. I don't know if some things have been exaggerated a little bit, but it's worth exaggerating when you see all the things that Israel does, to the inferiors, I don't know, they don't call them species. That's what the Ukrainians call the Russians. What do they call them? I don't know. They have names like, I don't think it's Untermensch or cockroach or I don't know. Something derogatory, of course. And of course the United States, of course, was pulling all that stuff too. When I was in the army, of course, back then we were supposed to be scared of the Russians. When Ivan comes across that border, you better blah, 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 blah. And, they I don't know what do they call the Chinese? Do they call them the gooks? The Asians, the Japanese? I don't know. But you have to dehumanize your enemy, I guess. It makes you feel really good about killing them, I guess. Kill them all and let God sort them out. That's what they told us. Okay. Yeah, so Bibi Netanyahu is, they're striking children's wards, and I guess this last strike, okay, I have the name right here, Shati. The Shati refugee camp, and they had some film footage of that, but everybody's looking at something else. They're not looking at what else Israel is doing by bombing and killing children. They showed bodies, and 3 of them at least were children, of course, but I wonder, what Bibi Netanyahu will say about that. They were Hamas! I don't know. 8-year-old Hamas agents. Yeah. I guess they also targeted, a few days ago, they didn't report it until, I guess today, or at least maybe it's in the last 12 hours or whatever, that Israel was trying to kill Aaron Ghachi, the foreign minister of Iran. But they found out, they found this plot, they discovered it, and I don't know if they arrested people. Of course, Iran didn't say if they found the people or if they just found the plot or what. But anyway, it makes you really wonder. So they killed that guy. The other guy, the last foreign minister, was killed. Who knows? Maybe Israel did that too. They didn't find anything. Remember when that helicopter crashed? U.S. helicopter. And anyway, but so what do they think? Nobody's going to replace? No, that was the president. Excuse me. That was the president of Iran that crashed. But they said they didn't find anything linking it to Israel, but you still never know. Okay. Candace Owens, she put out a video comment saying that the Zionists have lost the moral high ground, and they've called too many people Adolf Hitler, and nobody even cares about it anymore. Oh, it's starting to rain. I gotta get under here before my... It's raining all the time. Why are the elements against me? Really weird. It's kind of a cold day. This morning was really cold. I was gonna do the video a lot earlier, but the weather's not complying. And then I heard something that they're saying that most of the summer's not going to be that nice in Belarus this year for some reason. But I'm hearing everywhere, not just Iran, I heard Iran as well. I heard Paris, Bulgaria, all kinds of places are really, really hot. But we're having sort of like a springtime summer, sort of a spring/summer here. So I don't know. Maybe that's better. Yeah, I don't know. So if we have to get some days of rain, it's not too bad. Obviously in the summertime. That wind yesterday, that wasn't fun. Okay, Adolf Hitler. Oh no, that's what Israel says. That's what Israel calls everybody. Everybody's an Adolf Hitler. Anybody that disagrees with Israel is Adolf Hitler. Yeah, jeez. Saddam Hussein. You know, like the Ayatollah Khamenei right now. I don't know. I guess he's a real bad guy. You got to get rid of him. You know, it makes you wonder if somebody's going to take his place. You know, and they said that's one of the biggest objectives. And Donald Trump says, "Oh, we're not trying to kill him," but you know, if it's Israel's objective, it's the U.S.'s objective, because they're pretty much one and the same. It seems to me now. I'm starting to look like that. Somebody posted an old video, the old video clip. Remember of Wesley Clark? Well, he used to be general, 4-star general Wesley Clark, and you know, when he was sitting down, it was just right after 9/11, and maybe you could talk about that stuff back in them days, but nowadays they're probably going to say, "Shh, don't talk about that." But he was talking about when he was in the Pentagon, you know, and they handed him a paper, and on this paper it said that because some guy said, "Look at what we're going to do," you know, to Wesley Clark. I mean, can you believe this? Look at what we have planned, you know, in the next 5 years. And what it said was the next 5 years are going to take out 7 countries. The United States is, I mean, of course, obviously, it's actually been going on, but it's taken a lot more than 5 years. So they were going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, and those countries are. This was before all of these countries were destroyed. So and Wesley Clark was mentioning these countries as like Iraq, yeah, that's check mark. Syria, check. Just recently, Libya, check. They got that. Somalia, check. Lebanon, check. Israel just got rid of that one just recently. They're pretty well neutralized. Sudan, that's kind of in progress. Yeah, they check kind of. You know, they're destabilized. If these countries like Somalia and Sudan are not like destroyed, they're at least destabilized. And the last one on the list, Iran. I guess it was all to lead up to Iran because they wanted to get rid of a lot of these before they got rid of Iran. But I guess now, you know, if it was going on now, they'd probably add Yemen to that list. And who else, you know? Who else? And some maybe wannabes that they want to put on the list, but you know, they're just not quite sure. I don't know. Maybe Qatar. I don't know. There was another article that said Trump has not bombed Iran yet because they fear they will create another Libya. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. That's exactly what they're trying to get. They want to create another Libya out of Iran. Isn't that absolutely incredible? Trump doesn't want to create another Libya. It's like, laugh your head off. Please give me a half an hour to roll around laughing on the floor. That's exactly the objective. The objective is to destroy, destabilize, and turn all these countries basically into Libyas. Then Israel will have it easy. That's what their goal is, you know, to dominate all of these things. All of these places, and you know, you never know what their entire stuff is all about. Okay, police again, they're coming to get me. I guess this is kind of a favorite hiding place for the police, maybe. Let's see what else here. So, hope they're not going to say something. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, Trump has not bombed because he's afraid, and real truth, you guys know this stuff. There's two things. There's two reasons why he has not bombed Iran yet. And one of them, he will lose huge amounts of his support. Some people are saying huge amounts, maybe even up to 80% of anybody that supports Donald Trump won't support him anymore. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but it's going to be a huge amount. You already see a lot of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and lots of other people are getting pretty disgusted that he's even considering such a thing. And then, what else do we have? Then, of course, the other one would be a nuclear catastrophe. Oh, they're letting the dog out. I guess that's what it's all about. It's a canine unit. Okay. Who let the dogs out? Woo, 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 woo. Okay, the second one is the nuclear, I mean, I guess, who is it? Dmitry Medvedev talked about that. He's against that. A lot of people are talking about it. Oh, come on, do your business. Nice, pretty dog. What would you call that? A black German Shepherd. Incredible. Okay. And it turns out that, oh, it's even got a Belarusian flag on its collar. Oh, here comes another one. There, these guys are coming for me, I guess. Okay. Israel has dramatically expanded their area of strikes. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm going to pee my pants. The police are coming. I'm going to get him. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. He did it. He did it. He did it. Oh, look at it. Okay, Israel has dramatically expanded the area of strikes, and many shipments of their weapons are arriving from the West. I mean, it's not just the United States. Of course, most of them are from the U.S. And yeah, that's mostly that kind of news. I was seeing Chebo. Здравствуйте. YouTube video. Novosti. Iran. Shehzad, Donald Trump. Huh? Da. See how nice the policemen are here in Belarus? Okay. Okay, what was I talking about here? Chebo. And, oh, he was noticing yesterday, or maybe it was today, what I was saying about this, the Nimitz. A lot of people are saying the Nimitz is going to be used as like a cannon fodder because it's old or whatever. And establishment saw that. Someone from the establishment saw that, and they said, oh, that's a bunch of BS. And Chebo says, yeah, no, for that reason, just to watch it. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to do it now because some people already suggested it. And, they've done this stuff before. He put it out exactly the same way that I did yesterday. I was talking about some of the times they did this in the past. And it was the USS Liberty. The USS Liberty. And the one in it was the Gulf of Tonkin. You know, the Gulf of Tonkin was a non-incident. It never happened. But the United States told everybody that the North Vietnamese sank an American ship in the Gulf of Tonkin, and that was in order to get the U.S. into the war. And I guess before that time, the French were kind of involved, and the Americans kind of took over. And you never know really what the whole reasons were. Oh, to fight communism. I don't really know about that. I think it was probably some other reasons, but I'm not so familiar with what was this all about. But anyway, then, Cambodia and all sorts of killing, massacres all over the place. Really some crazy stuff going on in Asia in those days. And nowadays, Vietnam turns out to be a very, very, it's a matter of fact, a very good place if you want to go where things are very cheap, things are very nice. You might want to look at Vietnam. Very strange. 1960s, you would have never said that, even into the 1970s. But anyway, I told you guys yesterday also about President Johnson, and that has a lot to do with what when he said, you make me president and I'll give you your goddamn war. So they wanted to get into, it's the same thing. It's sort of like a repeat. Donald Trump and Iran is a repeat of President Johnson and Vietnam. It's really strange. Very, very strange. They're similar types of personalities in a way. Johnson was a pretty nasty guy. He had his women all over the place. and he loved to cuss. He was a cussing guy, you know. He was nice when he saw Forrest Gump in that movie, you know. I mean, that was just kidding around, but anyway, it's sort. A lot of people say, "Oh no, history doesn't repeat itself; it just rhymes a lot." Well, this might be a repeat if it happens the way it did back then. But a lot of people maybe will be calling it out. Well, I'm calling it out, and you know, Chabo, he got halfway there, and he didn't add the President Johnson part in there, like I just did now. But yeah, anyway, it's something to be looking at. Something to be looking at. Wow, wow, and he even acts like Johnson. You know, you have to sometimes, like Donald Trump, he seems to do everything for Israel, and it's been put out. And even, like I said, Candace Owens, she mentioned that President Johnson was a closet Jew. He was actually Jewish, you know. And it's sort of like back in the old days of the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition. There were Jews that tried to act like they were Christians, and they weren't Christians, so they pretended to be something other than what they were. You know, times have come like that. A lot of people, they didn't look too kindly on usury, you know, charging interest on loans and all that. And the Christian banks and Muslim banks are not supposed to be charging interest. But as you all know, in the West, all the banks are Jewish banks. They're under the Jewish banking system, at least. If they're not even run, maybe they're run by Jews. I don't know. And I'm not like talking bad about Jews, you know. But I don't even understand how. You know, there's a Muslim bank, I think, in the U.S. I think it's called Larissa. You know, it makes you really wonder how they can keep afloat. They don't come after you, and you'd think that a lot of people would be taking advantage of them. I don't really know how they if they have collateral. I have no idea, because I've never encountered a Muslim bank, but maybe some of you out there know how that works. So, like I said, we don't want to, you know, the Nimitz to be another USS Liberty. You know, and for those that maybe didn't see the video yesterday, the USS Liberty was a ship that 1967, it was an American ship that was sent to the waters out there to kind of listen in on radio things between what's going on in the war, you know, between Israel and Egypt, and then apparently Israel got the fancy idea, hey, why don't we sink that American ship and make it look like the Egyptians did it, and then the Americans will come into the war on our side against Egypt. Isn't that strange? How history repeats itself. They want to get the, you know, anyway, that's why everybody's probably talking about a false flag. They want to do the same thing, maybe with the Nimitz, and make it look like Iran is the one that shot it. And I think the United States is even on board with that. So they're going to probably try to put it within firing distance somewhere of Iran. I mean, I don't know. It makes you really wonder, is this really going to happen? If this really happens, this is going to be absolutely, you know, mind-boggling. And it's, like I said also, you know, Donald Trump said 2 weeks. Makes you really wonder, I'll decide in 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? Why is that a magic number? Why is 2 weeks? And I think, as a matter of fact, yeah, I did see a report. I don't know, a lot of people aren't paying attention maybe to it, but Seymour Hersh is pretty good. And he thinks, it's not like, I think it was the Washington Post or somebody was also putting out that maybe they will be striking by this weekend. And it would be ironic if they actually did. But it's not like Iran is a bunch of dummies, you know. I think they're trying to be ready every second. Donald Trump can do it tonight. By the way, there was, like I said, a lot of strikes from Israel last night into wider areas within Iran. And Iran is still striking, but I think Iran is probably trying to be a little bit preserving with some of their ammunition. And in the meantime, like I said, lots of planes and things are coming on endlessly to Israel, bringing all kinds of weapons and ammunition for Israel to be using. I wonder if it fits into their Iron Dome. I don't know. But a lot of people are saying, oh, they have 10 to 12 or 15 days of ammunition left. But, well, what about all these airplanes arriving filled with all kinds of ammunition for Israel? Anyway, that's about all I have to say. And anyway, so it turns out to be a little bit of an asset, you know, if you understand, you know, don't sit on your assets. A little bit of an asset if you understand or watched a little bit of history. So you can see that maybe history does repeat itself. Sometimes it does, sometimes it rhymes, sometimes whatever. kind of reminds me of this one guy named Jesus, some guy from Nazareth, who once said, "There is nothing new under the sun." In a sense, what Jesus is saying is, history repeats itself. There you go. Okay, from the great man himself. Me! I mean, no, Jesus. So, thanks for joining me, and I really appreciate some of you subscribers. I got some new subscribers, probably after that one joker was criticizing me, calling me a middle-aged alcoholic because I drink a beer every now and then, you know. Well, I almost drink a beer every day, but anyway. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.